Peter B. Collins, News and Comment. It's Tuesday, June 6, 2017. You can now refer to me as Juror Number 9. I reported for jury duty today, and during the lunch break, it looked like I was going to be dismissed. And then they dismissed some other people, and I moved up in line to become Juror Number 9. So this will curtail my podcast activities this week. I won't be able to deliver a podcast on Wednesday or Thursday. They've given us Friday morning off, so I'll be able to do a podcast on Friday. But no Facebook Live video feed this week. We hope to resume that next week. So yesterday, just after I finished posting the Daily News and Comment podcast, the big story broke at the Intercept. Or at least it appeared to be a big story. A new leaker provided a single-page document from the NSA, and it's relatively fresh. The document is dated May 5th. And we knew almost immediately as the article was released who the source was, because the Justice Department announced that they have filed charges against a 25-year-old woman from Georgia with the improbable name Reality Winner. Now, I don't know much about her. She's young, attractive. She lifts weights. She is fluent in important languages like Pashto and I think Farsi. And she had a top-secret security clearance working for an NSA contractor. But now, she's not such a winner, whether it came from reality or not, because she's facing at least 10 years behind an Espionage Act charge. And this has raised a number of serious questions about the way the Intercept treated her confidential leak. And it appears that she fumbled the ball along the way, where she used a printer at her work facility. She used her work computer, apparently, to contact the Intercept, but we don't know if it was for the purpose of this leak. So it is truly bizarre that, at least in my experience, within minutes of reading this celebrated scoop from the Intercept, we learned that the leaker has already reportedly confessed and was picked up by the FBI last Saturday. And when you read the article, you have to say, reality winner? Winner reality? You are risking jail over this? Because the headline reads, Top Secret NSA Report Details Russian Hacking Effort Days Before 2016 Election. And it reports possible intrusions of an election office in American Samoa, where the votes for president don't even count, and an attempted hack or a phishing attack on a voting software company based in Florida that supplies the software that 12 states record votes with, and none of those states were critical or close in the election results in November. Now, in publishing this one page of a two-page document that's graphically rich, it's like from a PowerPoint presentation or something like that, the one bit of news is that it flatly asserts that Russia's intelligence unit, the GRU, was directing these hacking operations. There's no evidence supplied. There is no source code. There is nothing. This is much more of a PR release than an intelligence report. And my friend and colleague, Mark Crispin Miller at NYU, sent me a text last night asking for my reaction, and this is what I wrote. The report is thin and fishy with a PH. The source has been burned. She's got an improbable name. She was busted before publication. The article is low-grade access journalism. It just repeats unproven assertions in the purloined doc. Page 2 is missing. The article leads with, it is unknown. Actually, the document does. And later it uses the weasel word likely. And so this is just another effort to pile on to the evidence-free assertions of the Trump-Russia narrative. And I suspect that this could be a kind of plant document. Maybe it was planted to test the patriotism or the adherence to security agreements by reality winner. Maybe it was just an effort to track a leak that they had seen surface already. Or maybe it was a plot to destroy the credibility of the Intercept. And it certainly has damaged the cred of the Intercept. And we have to note that the timing of the reported hack into the VR voting machine software company website was in late October. And if you're going to affect an election by inserting malware into software, doing it at the last minute is not so helpful, because the software, say with, the list of the candidates that gets inserted onto an electronic voting machine, a lot of that is prepared weeks in advance, loaded onto the machines are distributed to the precinct locations. And so a hack in late October is really, a missed opportunity. And we don't know enough about the nature of these phishing attempts to determine whether this was just routine hacking. They go after everything, and this just seemed to be, one of the targets du jour. Or if, as the implication of this purloined document infers, that this was a snapshot of a much more powerful and sinister hacking operation. And what really bothers me is that the Intercept, where Glenn Greenwald has been writing great, challenging, skeptical columns about the Trump-Russia narrative, the four reporters, Matthew Cole, Richard Esposito, Sam Biddle, and Ryan Grimm, who wrote this, there's no obvious involvement by Greenwald. They just take the line of the government. They treat as fact the claim that Russia hacked, that the GRU was directly responsible. There are no explorations of whether the IP addresses could have been faked or any of the other issues that drive at the credibility of this report. And today, the Intercept released a statement where they introduced some skepticism that was apparently not available to them yesterday. Let me read it. On June 5th, the Intercept published a story about a top-secret NSA document that was provided to us completely anonymously. Shortly after the article was posted, the Justice Department announced the arrest of Reality Lee Winner, 25-year-old government contractor in Augusta, Georgia, for transmitting defense information under the Espionage Act. Although we have no knowledge of the identity of the person who provided us with the document, the U.S. government has told news organizations that Winner was that individual. Now, let me pause to mention that a number of people, Tom Secker and Moon Over Alabama, to name two, have done good, analysis of what's been published by the government. And it shows that as the Intercept attempted to verify the authenticity of this document that was leaked to them, that they exposed the address of where it came from, the city and the state. Now, that's the kind of giveaway that a seasoned investigative journalist would never participate in. There are also questions about how the document was copied and whether it showed watermarks or other, hard to see markings from the printer where the document was copied. Back to the statement from the Intercept. While the FBI's allegations against Winner have been made public through the release of an affidavit and a search warrant, which were unsealed at the government's request, it is important to keep in mind that these documents contain unproven assertions and speculation designed to serve the government's agenda, and as such warrant skepticism. Winner faces allegations that have not been proven, although we're told she has confessed. The same is true of the FBI's claims about how it came to arrest Winner. And the final two sentences, we take this matter with the utmost seriousness. However, because of the continued investigation, we will make no further comment on it at this time. Now, that closer is Pentagon quality, if you ask me. Now, in case the media coverage of the Intercepts NSA scoop has damaged your own skepticism, I've got something that'll help buck you up. I want to give great credit to Caitlin Johnstone, the self-described rogue journalist who publishes at Medium.com. And yesterday she posted a lengthy piece. I tried to print it, but it would run 85 pages. And it's called The Big Fat Compendium of Russiagate Debunkery. And Katie Johnstone has done an excellent job here. She's quite a great contrarian voice. And here she lists in bullet points and a numbered list, a kind of index of the antidotes to the hokum and the bunkum of the Russiagate narrative. She starts with 1, there is no proof. 2, and the NSA could at any time provide public proof of Russian hacking without compromising any intelligence sources, yet they don't. And all of this is supported by real-time tweets and articles and videos. Number 3, this is all coming from the same people who told us incorrectly that Russia hacked the French election. That turned out not to be true. And, of course, we've got the 17 intelligence agencies claim. That's number 4. It's a lie. So I won't just rehash it for you here, but I've linked to it in the show file for today's podcast. And I encourage you to get your favorite beverage or several and kick back with your laptop and read through this, because it will help you understand that there are many skeptics out there, that the mainstream media narrative that's embraced by Democratic leaders and promoted by MSDNC and other outlets is riddled with holes and remains still unsupported by any significant public evidence. So I encourage you to take a look at that and help keep your spirits up during these difficult times. There's no question this is difficult. And one of my listeners, I'm very fond of Anne. I won't mention her last name just to give her a break. But she checked in over this past weekend. She said, I've been meaning to send you a comment about how irritating I find your spin on Trump-Russia and your war with Hillary. Sometimes you seem like such a good guy, and then you turn into Jimmy Dore. So I answered, well, Ann, what spin on Russia do you prefer? I'm still waiting for actual evidence. Well, her response, which I didn't find very compelling, is we're also still waiting for files to be released on the Kennedy assassination. Peter, you act like it is no big deal that Trump is surrounded with people who have ties to Russia and Putin. I've acknowledged that. You act like Putin is some kind of regular guy. No, I don't. I just don't believe that he is the demon of the current Marvel comic episode called Trump Russia. She says, I find that you may be lulling people to sleep. If you think Trump hasn't done enough to warrant impeachment already, then I don't think you're being balanced. Well, impeachment requires the political support of 2/3 of both houses of Congress. And so you can suggest that impeachment, that the trigger for impeachment has already been met. And in fact, it was on the day he took office under the Emoluments Clause. But that does not mean that there is the will to impeach, that they could actually convict him and remove him from office. And then, of course, and there is the Mike Pence problem. So I hear what she's saying, and I do understand that this is frustrating for a lot of people. But I just have to call it as I see it. And every day I like to call out a few names of people who support my work here at the PBC podcast with your subscriptions. People like Grant Gibson and Benny Alto in Oregon, Bill Janetta, and Carla Mahoney, who is in for $10 a month. Very solid. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I want to invite new people to subscribe. Inevitably, people come and go. Some people get pissed because of my Trump-Russia narrative or the fact that I didn't support Hillary Clinton last year. But I invite all people who are independent-minded and who are seeking good information and commentary to support this effort. Just go to peterbcollins.com, click the menu button, pull it down, click on Become a Subscriber, and it takes you to the sign-up page. So Thursday, I will be in court as James Comey goes to the the Senate Intelligence Committee to tell us about those notes that he took on his conversations and meetings with Donald Trump. And I think this is going to be fascinating. We can't expect him to spill all the beans, but whatever beans he brings with him, I think are going to be pretty potent. And the White House tried to set up a war room. They didn't quite pull it off. And so we're told that the Donald will be live tweeting to correct the record as Comey is testifying. And this creates the most bizarre possibility in American history of a president lowering himself to this kind of sniper activity, trying to talk to his base as he loses the whatever credibility he had with the rest of the American population. And we talked yesterday about his misguided tweets aimed at the mayor of London, mischaracterizing what the mayor had said and really just trying to get even for him because he had been critical of Trump and the travel ban in the past. And we talked yesterday about Trump shooting himself not only in the feet but now in the head with his blistering comments about, I don't care what anybody says, I don't want my watered-down travel ban, I want the original travel ban, and that's going to burn him. There's no doubt about it. And now he is tweeting about the breakdown of relations among the members of the Gulf Cooperation Council. Now, this is a group of the wealthy Middle Eastern governments, and it has been a cozy little group that has overlooked how some of the members were funding different groups in Syria from the ones that the Saudis were funding in Syria. So on his Middle Eastern trip, Trump now claims in a tweet, I stated that there can no longer be funding of capital R, capital I, radical ideology. Leaders pointed to Qatar. Look. His next tweet, so good to see the Saudi Arabia visit with the king and 50 countries already paying off. They said they would take a hard line on funding extremism, and all reference was pointing to Qatar. Perhaps this will be the beginning of the end to the horror of terrorism. Well, the ignorance of this man is unbounded, because the description of bad behavior by Qatar relates to Al Jazeera and the fact that it reports on information that's embarrassing to other Middle Eastern countries, and that Qatar has what it describes as an independent stance on foreign policy. But as I see this, Trump is really being suckered by the Saudis, and he is taking hook, line, and sinker. Their suggestion that you can have a rogue element among these Middle Eastern dictatorships and not address what's going on in Syria. And so Trump's tweeting is compounding problems for the Defense Secretary Mattis and the Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, because they're trying to calm this and broker some sort of a resolution to the dispute. But it's now escalating, and Qatar is the site of one of the most important military bases that Trump needs for his own misadventures in Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and Somalia to some extent. And so this is a really risky move on Trump's part. And I, of course, don't necessarily value the alliance with Qatar, particularly the military angle to it. But this is, again, a case where Trump is really hurting himself by making these rash and impulsive moves and blowing it all out on Twitter. I was really stunned the other day on Facebook. Somebody posted an article from Teen Vogue. And I thought, is this going to be about acne or about hairstyling or about the latest fashions? And I am really surprised in a pleasant way to see a very serious article and critical analysis about Barack Obama's drone warfare program over his 8 years in office. And this was written by a person I've never heard of called Asmia Magane. And it is loaded with facts. And I just imagine young teen females who are looking for the latest about, Britney Spears or one of those people, Miley Cyrus, and instead they get real information that under Obama in 2016, that we bombed 7 countries, Pakistan, Libya, Somalia, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and Yemen. A total of 26,000 munitions was dropped. And it goes into even greater detail about how Obama developed his kill list of terrorists and how Obama argued that by using drones we were reducing the carnage of larger military action, both to U.S. soldiers, troops, and to civilians on the ground. But the article goes on to say that in 2014, the Council on Foreign Relations found that 500 drone strikes in Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia killed an estimated 3,674 people. 450 of the 500 strikes were authorized by Obama. And a study by an outside group found that attempts to kill 41 militants in Pakistan and Yemen resulted in the deaths of approximately 1,147 people, some of them children. Now, there's more in the article, and I've linked to it in the show file for today's podcast. But Teen Vogue is showing up, major media outlets, both television and print, by offering this very critical review of Obama and drones. Meanwhile, civilian casualties have increased sharply in military actions against the Islamic State in Syria and Iraq under the Trump administration. Nearly 60% of the officially acknowledged deaths from the last 3 years were reported in the first 3 months of the Trump administration. Now, I don't want to undermine the impact of those numbers, but the single event on the 17th of March in Mosul, where 105 civilians were killed, does skew those numbers. But I think this is a reflection of a major change in policy that really hasn't been acknowledged publicly, and we're still waiting for Trump's secret plan to destroy the Islamic State. I guess it's so secret that we're never going to learn about it. Also, Thursday is Election Day in Britain. And in response to the incidents in London last weekend, her poll numbers, Theresa May, the current prime minister, appear to be slipping sharply. So she's doing kind of a Donald Trump. Who cares about human rights? We're going to get tough. And she is appealing to the Brexit voters. Theresa May said she'll introduce tougher anti-terrorism measures if she wins on Thursday, including restricting the movement of suspects when the authorities don't have enough evidence to prosecute them. She wants to deport foreign terror suspects to their home countries, introduce longer sentences for those convicted of terror crimes. And she said if human rights laws get in the way of doing these things, we will change those laws to make sure we can do them. Now, I don't know the British electorate that well, and the Brexit vote seems to be an outlier. But this suggests to me that Jeremy Corbyn is well poised to win for the Labour Party on Thursday, and we'll be watching closely. Now, one of the issues may be well below the radar. Is Theresa May using Cambridge Analytica and its big data effort that we're told was a critical element in Trump's support, the way he developed it, and the way he kept people from voting for Hillary in key states during the 2016 campaign. And I'm linking to a new article from Motherboard at Vice News that details the work of Michael Kosinski. He is a psychologist and a researcher at Stanford here in California, and he helped develop a series of databases based on people's Facebook activities. And he is able to take 80 or 90 of your likes, and from that he can define what your sexual orientation is, what your political values and orientations are, and it appears to be very, very powerful stuff. And Kosinski is portrayed in this article as the guy who created the doomsday machinery, but he tried to block its usage in politics. And it tells the story of how Cambridge Analytica either reverse engineered or simply acquired the methodology that Kozinski had been developing for much more benign purposes. And I encourage you to read this piece. It's a long one, but it does, I think, expose how the big data operations were used, and that Steve Bannon's role at Breitbart may pale in comparison to his role on the Robert Mercer billionaire-funded group called Cambridge Analytica, where Bannon served on the board of directors. And it's interesting because this does play into one of the comments that Hillary Clinton made last week about what she thought was bad data operations at the DNC. And it's possible that they had very decent data operations, but they didn't go to the dark side the way Team Trump did with Cambridge Analytica. So I encourage you to take a look at this article. In the future, I will try to score an interview with Michael Kozinski and bring you more on the developments in data mining and the ability to use it to target and to persuade voters. And as I wrap up today, two stories that were in the business section of the San Francisco Chronicle yesterday that play into the very collection of data that may have been used to manipulate the election much more than anything that Russia may be responsible for. Number one, Apple announced the introduction of HomePod, which is its response to the Amazon Echo and related devices. These are robotic Siri-style machines that you can talk to and say, tell me what the weather's going to be, put on my favorite oldie, time my roast in the oven. These are all benign purposes. But they can also be used to collect, for example, how often are voices raised in a given household? What is the stress level of that household based on arguments over what to watch on TV? And some of these, may seem so silly, and you might ask, how could anybody ever use that against me? Well, what we're seeing is that Big Brother, whether it's Google on the commercial side or the NSA on the spy community side, they are developing the ability to track us, to monitor us, to predict our behavior. And I find that extremely alarming. Thanks for joining me today for my News and Comment podcast, available on YouTube. As I mentioned, I'm on jury duty. Our next podcast will be available on Friday, June 9th. I'm Peter B. Collins.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails.